Hi, this is Knighton Tallarico. It is March 20th, 2014. In fact, we are, right now as I'm delivering this, we are less than an hour from the moment of spring equinox. And spring equinox, all the time, is about an equality between light and dark, between yang and yin energies. And then right after that moment of the equinox, spring equinox, the yang light energies get stronger and the yin energies begin to wane. The other time of the year when yang and yin are equal is the autumn equinox. The difference then is that the yin energies and the dark energies are getting stronger and the light yang energies are waning. So this is a time of year, at least in the northern hemisphere, at the spring equinox, when life yells or begins to yell, I am here. Life is moving forward. So it's important to realize that after the equal moment, that your life begins getting more active now. And it'll be easier to get more active because the energies of the universe are behind you for more action. Now that doesn't mean that all at once, your life is going to be moving fast, but it means that the beginning of that process starts at the spring equinox. Now this springtime of 2014 is going to be much more important than the usual springtime. It has got some aspects in it that I haven't seen for quite a while. Actually, the way it's going to be, I haven't seen ever. There is going to be the normal 2 eclipses in a row. Both of those eclipses are going to happen in April. But also in April, there's going to be a cardinal grand cross. And what that means is that there are 4 planets that are going to form a cross. And grand crosses, whether they're in a natal chart or whether they're just in general in a given moment in time, are very powerful aspects. It's like being pulled in 4 different directions at the same time. And when you add the 2 eclipses to that, and we all know, those of you that have been following my writing or these videos that I do, or just listening to other astrologers also, you know that we have been getting eclipse seasons twice a year, and those eclipse seasons add intensity and promote change when those eclipse seasons happen. But this time, this grand cross is going to be a part of the process, and so the degree of change is going to be accelerated, and all of us will be taken out of our normal, same old way of being, and will be pushed, maybe pushed is not the right word, will be motivated to act and make changes. And the last time I saw a grand cross and eclipses together was back in August of 1999. In August of 1999, there was a fixed grand cross at the Leo new moon, at the Leo solar eclipse. So back in August of 1999, there was a solar eclipse in Leo, and that solar eclipse formed a grand cross. That's not as powerful as this is. This is more powerful because you've got 2 eclipses, and then you've got a grand cross that really isn't connected to the eclipses. But the grand cross itself is going to have Uranus and Pluto in it, as well as Jupiter and Mars, all very powerful and active energies, especially the Uranus square Pluto. And those of you that have listened to these videos before know that Uranus square Pluto is a very transformational aspect. Back in 65 and 66, when those 2 planets were conjunct, it brought on the 60s revolution. And now from 2012 to 2015, Uranus squares Pluto, which is the first major aspect for those 2 planets since the 60s. So now, in April, this grand cross has got the Uranus-Pluto square in it, and then it's got Jupiter and Mars also. Back in 1999, it was a fixed Grand Cross. Let me tell you what happened back in 1999 as far as events in the world go. About 5 days after that eclipse, there was an earthquake in Turkey. And that earthquake in Turkey, I think, killed about 17,000 people. And then there was one right after that in Greece that ended up putting 50,000 people homeless. Also, just a little bit before that eclipse was when the Western world bombed Serbia in order, in their mind, to free Kosovo so that Kosovo could be an independent state in the Serbia, Croatia, Yugoslavia world. So those are the kind of things that were happening back then. And also, interestingly, we'll talk more about this later, Vladimir Putin became the president of Russia for the first time during that same time period when the eclipse goes. Now you know that, of course, he's very prominent in the news. And we'll talk more about Russia and Vladimir Putin as we go on with this video. So at this year, with this Grand Cross and the two eclipses, everyone will be taken out of their normal balance. Things are going to feel a little bit more crazy than they normally feel. You got to be careful not to let people push your buttons too much, because it's easy to get into conflict when things are this intense. So those are the things to remember. It won't feel like it usually does. Things will definitely, at the very least, the intensity level is going to be up higher. And your desire to act and move forward in your life is going to be stronger. Now, these are all cardinal signs that the planets are in. These are very young planets, like I said before, but also there are in cardinal signs. And cardinal signs are the first month of every season. So that's like Aries is the first month of spring, and Cancer is the first month of summer, Libra the first of autumn, and Capricorn the first of winter. So they're all initiatory signs that these planets are in. So that'll give you more of a feeling like new beginnings, doing new things, moving into new chapters of your life, creating new actions around the things that are important to you. The people that'll be the most affected will be those four signs that I said: Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. There's 30 degrees in a sign. So those that are in the middle of that sign, which would be like people born like the first week in April, first week in July, first week in October, first week in January, approximately, will be the people who be most affected. Their sun sign will be most affected. Of course, people have more than just a sun in a natal chart. You've got a moon, you got Venus, you got Mars, etc., etc. If any of those planets fall within those middle degrees of those cardinal signs, those people will also be affected. The thing to keep in mind on a bigger picture is that we're all moving in to a new age, an Aquarian age. And the rhythms for bringing us forward into that new age are getting stronger and stronger all the time. In my estimation, the 2020s will be when we'll be pretty fully into an Aquarian age. So between now and the 2020s is when all of the change is going to accelerate in order to get our consciousness and our lives aligned with what the Aquarian age is meant to be for all of us. And that means that on a personal level, we're each going to need to transform. And on a global level, our world is going to transform. Now, what will an Aquarian age look like? An Aquarian age is when there's more equality, and when people start honoring diversity, but diversity in unity, like we're all one. And when you look at the global world, you can see how difficult that process might be, because there's not really a sense of unity in many ways. We create enemies with one another. We project our demons on one another. And in order for us to truly get into this new Aquarian age, we have to learn how to know that we're all the same family, that we're all brothers and sisters on this planet Earth. And I know most of you that really pay attention to the world know that there's a long way to go before that happens with the leaders of this world, for sure. So in a month like April and in a spring like 2014, everything is spiked. So in other words, we're moving toward this new Aquarian age, but at times when the planetary energies are especially intense, like they will be this spring, we're pushed faster forward to make the changes. So what that means on an individual basis is that, let's say that I haven't resolved certain kind of issues from my past, or let's say I haven't healed certain things from my past. Those issues are more likely to come up for me, to be in my face, so to speak, so that I have to deal with them. And the reason that happens is because if I've pushed those issues away, and it's natural to push them away sometimes, we can't be thinking about our deeper issues all the time. But if I've pushed them away, then they're still not resolved and they're still not healed. And I still haven't transformed beyond these old patterns and programs that I have. When the planets are like they're going to be for this springtime, everything is pushed up where I'm dealing with it. As I'm dealing with it, I'm able to release that which no longer works for me, and I'm able to open up and awaken to new ways of looking at things and to new ways of leading my life. So that's kind of what happens during these powerful planetary times. Is there'll be breakdowns of the old ways, the old programs, the old patterns, and there'll be breakthroughs into whole new ways of looking at everything and dealing with our lives. So you can expect that to a lesser or greater degree depending on who the person is and how their own personal chart is being aspected. But all of us are going to feel this intensity to move forward with our lives, to release old patterns, old programs, and to embrace new ways of looking at things. Just one way that we can all kind of tune in on together, that's a part of the evolution of our species to move into this Aquarian age, is empathy. So for instance, if you look at your personal relationships, or you look at the relationships that people have out in the greater world, the leaders of the world, the countries of the world, one of the things that's always missing is this kind of like empathy, like putting yourself in the shoes of the person that supposedly is your enemy. And because we don't do that, we don't have a sense that they are like us. Like namaste is like, I am you, you are me. And the more that we can get to that place globally, the more that our world will move into the Aquarian age. And the more we can get into that place personally, the more that our relationships will get better. So it's almost as if there's a dual movement that's happening as we get into Aquarian age. Remember, it's diversity and unity. So in order for diversity and unity to happen, I have to honor the individuality of who I am first. From that place of honoring my individuality is where I come to have empathy towards you. If I have empathy towards you and it's totally selfless and I don't have a sense of self or an authenticity, that still doesn't take us into that new world. The new world is diversity and unity. So I have to honor my individual self that was made uniquely me. And from that place, honor everyone else's unique individuality. That will bring us into what the tone of the Aquarian age is meant to be. Now, if you look at things since the 20th century, all of us have been brought closer and closer together on this earth through commerce, through communication, and through transportation. We're no longer like it used to be many years ago, where someone in China we would have nothing to do with, someone in the Middle East we wouldn't have any doings with. Now we do, like I said, through transportation, communication. We are all closer and closer to being one on this planet. Where the work hasn't been done, in my estimation, is on a psychological, spiritual, soul level. That's where we haven't really honored one another and come closer together in a way that we won't have such horrible conflicts. So in order for us to get to this place where we need to in Aquarian age in the 2020s, there is a lot of inner work that we have to do, and there are a lot of changes that we have to make, both personally and globally. And again, during these times like this eclipse season that's coming up with the Grand Cross, that's when we will be motivated to grow faster than we normally grow. It's almost like we're creating, through evolution, a new kind of creature in a way. Because when I mentioned to you about having this kind of empathy and this diversity and unity feeling, and the sense that we're all part of the same family, you know that there are an awful lot of people on this earth that have no clue that that's the truth, that we're all part of the same family. And the more we get to that place, the more we're going to get into this new Aquarian age, and we're going to heal the earth, and we're going to heal our human family. So get ready for strong evolution in your personal life. And what that's going to mean is, you know, all of us have been programmed in the old age. We've been programmed to think of, you know, every man for himself, and me and my family come first. My nation is more important than anyone else's nation. My religion is the religion. That's where you find God, is through my religion. As long as we continue to think that way, we're going to be separated on the earth, and we're not going to come together. So each one of us has been programmed in that old way too. So as these eclipse seasons come up, it's important to get in touch with the ways that you want to move beyond that kind of consciousness and move beyond that kind of thinking, and start realizing that we're all one on this family, that no one's religion is any better than anyone else's, no one's family is any better than anyone else's. We're all equal. So the more we can get to that place, the quicker we're gonna get into this new Aquarian age. Now, when you look back to the 60s, when Uranus was conjunct Pluto, that's when we had a big push to do the things that I'm saying. It's like we had a sense that, you know, African Americans or women were not being treated equally. And so we started moving beyond that kind of thinking. We started realizing that government was corrupt, that people were greedy in government, and that the power of the people was beginning to slip away, and we needed to get people back involved in the process of running and governing this world. Some people could say that, you know, since the Uranus-Pluto conjunction in the 60s and 70s, we've kind of slid back a little bit. Maybe, maybe not. But the point is that now, with Uranus square Pluto and all these other aspects, it's time for us to take a stronger step forward around all these issues. Now our gay brothers and sisters are being more and more accepted all over the globe as equal. And that's, again, a part of this process of putting ourselves in other people's shoes and wondering that, and knowing that we're all one family. So get ready for this eclipse season and for this Grand Cross. It's going to be very powerful. And I believe that there will be some world events that are going to be powerful too. This Grand Cross is at 13 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, around 13 degrees. And the United States natal chart from July 4th, 1776 has its sun at just a little over 13 degrees of Cancer. Now that means that this Grand Cross is going to have a powerful effect on the very center, the very purpose, the very identity of the United States. Because that's what a sun in a natal chart is, and it's the sun in their natal chart. So we know that the United States is going to be going through a lot of change, and it's not just this springtime. That's just going to be like the beginning of all the change. Because in the eclipse season in the autumn, and especially next spring, that same spot in the chart will be aspected. In fact, in the United States natal chart, they have Saturn in Libra, square Sun in Cancer. And that Saturn in Libra will be aspected in the autumn of this year and next spring. And Saturn has to do with, you know, our security issues in large part. So a lot of what we have hung our hat on in the United States as the paradigm we have to live by and the security systems that we rely on, all of those things are going to shift and are going to change over the next year to year and a half. Now, part of that process from a bigger picture, why it's happening, is because, remember, diversity and unity, and we're all equal. Well, if there's any entity in the world that is a superpower or an empire or believes that it's greater than all the other countries in this world, then that's going to level out. And so this industrial complex that we have built is going to suffer over this next year and a half, especially. And, that could mean that our economic system gets challenged, the stock market gets challenged, and some of that could very well begin very strongly happening in this springtime. And that also means that the military power and control that the Western world, the United States, has all over the world is going to shift and is going to change. If you take a look now at what Russia's doing in Ukraine and Crimea, you can see that there's a challenge to the Western world and to the United States that's happening now. China's getting more powerful economically and otherwise. Now we can work with this in one of many ways. We can like start wars, and we can try to prove our dominance, and they try to prove their dominance. And all that's going to do is going to do the same things that we've done in the past. Like they say, history repeats itself. We need to stop having history repeat itself. Otherwise, we're going to be in big trouble this time. We have nuclear weapons. So if people keep at this thing of, me against you, I'm more powerful than you, I need more resources than you, I need to run more of the world than you, I'm better than you. If we keep up with that kind of attitude with nuclear weapons, we are going to destroy one another. So that's one of the reasons that evolution has to go to another level for humans into something new, because we can't continue that way of looking at things. So with Russia challenging, China challenging, some of the Muslim countries like Iran challenging for more power in this world, we're going to have to get to a stance of learning to share and be more equal with one another in order to move into this new age, and actually in order to survive as a species. It's likely it's not going to start that way, where everybody starts holding hands and singing Kumbaya. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think that, battles, conflicts, wars are going to begin soon. And that'll be part of the process to level the playing field for the world. So, get ready for that kind of thing happening. Potential this springtime and beyond of increased terror attacks. I think earthquakes are going to be a part of the process over the next year and a half. So, a lot of people thought that December of, what was it, just this last year, 2012, was going to be time where the new world was going to start and everything was going to break down. And, that didn't happen. And I think over this next year and a half, I don't anticipate necessarily everything breaking down totally, but I do anticipate the level of transformation and the changing of the institutions and the systems that we're used to rely on are going to go through some breakdowns and transformation over the next year and a half. And a lot of that is going to happen, in this springtime. That's when we need to start looking at where the process really begins. Perhaps the economy will get a big blow this springtime, and perhaps some of these conflicts will get stronger. Along with all that, that's just the part of the death of the old. The ability for each one of us to be inspired, to see things in all new ways we've never seen them before, to be uplifted spiritually, to have breakthroughs in our compassion and our empathy for one another, to start having our relationships change, where we're no longer relating to people based on the way we were treated by our mother and father, or the way the last person treated us, and we take that into our new relationship as baggage. It's true, you got to deal with this baggage when you move into a new relationship, but the possibility of quicker movement through our issues is heightened right now. Because these energies are so intense, your ability to move through things is going to be stronger too. So you may find that, without so many months of pain around letting go of an old hurt or trauma, you may find that more quickly you're going to be able to awaken to a new way of looking at things and awaken to a way of being inspired. So another part of programming we've been given is that, the rules for living, the paradigm for living has been given to us by our society, by our country, by our religions. We each are coming back to our own heart, our own soul, and our own mind. And that's a part of the process too, is you have to honor your own heart, soul, and mind, not so much of that, the authorities or those that have told you that you're supposed to think and be a certain way. Because as we move into the Aquarian age, and of course this has a lot to do with the sign Aquarius, if we move into the Aquarian age, it's about being in a group or a community. But within that community, each one of us honors exactly who we are, and we don't look to the authorities to tell us what our truth is. We look to ourselves to find out what our truth is. We look to ourselves to know what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's not true. So a part of the process will be to rid ourselves, to shed ourselves of this programming of we turn outside ourselves to know what's best for us and what's best for our world. This earth, we the humans are the stewards of this earth. The authorities, the powers that be, the wealthy people, these are not who are meant to govern our world. It's we the people who are meant to govern our world. And the disparity between rich and poor, between privileged and non-privileged, much of that is going to be wiped away through time so that we move into this Aquarian age of diversity and unity. I know to some of you that sounds like a Pollyanna way of looking at things, and it's just not going to happen. And I can tell you that it is going to happen. It's just that the process, and here's the part where it's not all Pollyanna, the process is not always going to be pretty. There are going to be moments where you feel so inspired and so uplifted by the things that you're learning and the things that you're opening up to. But just like the birth of anything, there's going to be labor pains to it all too, both globally and in our own personal lives too. So I believe that the actual eclipse season will be rolling in after the 30th of March, because the 30th of March is when there's a new moon in Aries, and I think that's going to be the strong wave of action forward with the eclipse season and the Grand Cross. Then on the 15th of April is when we have a lunar eclipse. It's a total lunar eclipse. And that's in Sun in Aries, Moon in Libra, and that's at about 24 degrees of Aries and Libra. And so that'll be the first big event of this spring season of change. Then from the 20th through about the 24th, 19th through the 24th, that's pretty much when this Grand Cross is going to be pretty equal with Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter, and Mars. And then on the 29th is when the second eclipse happens. And that one is a solar eclipse in Taurus. And so you can see from the 15th through the 29th is when most of the events happen. But that doesn't mean that the intensity will start then. The intensity will begin, like I said, after the 30th, and will go beyond the 29th of April. And the change and the desires for change are going to be happening then. There has been a T-square. A T-square is when there's three planets making these aspects to one another. So three of the cardinal signs, planets. And then the Grand Cross is when all four, like a cross like this. So the T-square has been going on since December of 2013, and it's going to go all the way until the second week in July, where there's at least a T-square. And now during some of that time, in April, it's going to be a Grand Cross where things intensify even more. That's why there's so much tension and intensity for movement forward, and why issues are coming up for people is because we've had this T-square and soon this Grand Cross, which really brings the issues up, like I said before. Then when we get into the end of July, at the Leo new moon, and Mars goes into Scorpio, whatever has been shaking up and changing during April, May, and June and most of July. Whatever's been shaking up and changing will move forward more fully at the end of July. And events may really be touched off as we get toward the end of July. There'll be plenty of events that are going to happen before that, but after that, that will trigger a movement forward and more events to happen. And then, of course, we have the autumn eclipses, and then we have next spring. And during that whole time period is when we're going to have an awful lot of change. But first things first, we've got a very powerful eclipse season and a Grand Cross coming up in April. And if you need more information about all of this, please go to www.spiritualtherapy.wordpress.com, where I do a weekly blog and forecast, and we'll be more, up to date every week with what's happening and explaining what's happening as you read that blog. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next time.